If you have ever stood in a changing room and been filled with shame and embarrassment because you've just pulled in a bunch of clothes and you've tried them on and nothing fits, nothing looks the way that you want it to look, nothing looks the way it's expected to look, or if you've ever cancelled an event at the last minute because you had nothing to wear, you didn't feel comfortable in what you pulled out of your wardrobe, and you just couldn't bring yourself to go, then stay tuned because you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. And that's where I've come from. So that is my story before. So if you watched my recent try on video, and I'll put a link somewhere here, you will know that I had a try on session of a bunch of different clothes that I've had lurking around, and a couple of my daughter's clothes, because it's a couple of jackets that she'd left behind. That was completely a novel experience for me because usually it's the other way around. Usually I'm trying on things, nothing fits. I'm really sad. I'm really upset. I've failed myself again by coming to the top of whatever size it is that I said I wasn't going to go past, or whatever weight I said I wasn't going to go past. And then here I would find myself in that position and staring down the barrel of not having anything to wear. I would say that was the case for me, probably since my teenage years. I've never been happy with my weight. Actually, that's not true. I was happy with my weight in 2001. The reason I remember it was 2001 is because it was right before 9/11. So just to put that in context for you. Yeah, I lost. I don't know how much I lost because I can't remember what my starting weight was, but I got down to, believe it or not, 137 pounds. Now I'm 5'7", and my goal weight at the moment is about 150 pounds, and that's like my goal weight. Like, I might settle somewhere around the 165 mark. I don't know, but yeah. So I was happy that time, and it all went horribly wrong. And not because of my weight, events happened, not 9/11, but events happened. And I turned all that negativity back on myself. And so between 2001 and 2024, October, my weight just went up and up and up. So my bottom weight ever was 137 pounds. I've never ever revealed my top weight. I don't even know if I know my top weight, but I'm going to say I know that I stepped on the scales at one point in 2016, maybe 2018, and I was 270 pounds. And I was pretty sure I'd lost a little bit of weight. So I might have been heavier than that. But anyway, so that is 100 and what is that? 160 pound difference. Yeah. So I've come from a very bad place recently, and that clothes try on Monday was, you can tell my excitement in it. You can tell my excitement because normally I am the one stood in a changing room. Sometimes I have cried in changing rooms, the bright lights, and it's hot and sweaty. There's the fear of somebody opening that curtain and seeing you there in all of your glory. And that's not a good way to be. I mean, some of you might not relate. Some of you might just have, gained a few pounds over the years. Not a few pounds. We've all gained more than a few pounds, but you've reached a weight that you're no longer happy. But I think a lot of people have gone past that, and their self-worth has been totally wrapped up in the number on the scale, the size of the clothing, the fact that they can't get anything to wear, or, that, like I said, they've had to cancel events. And, I went to my nephew's wedding in August, actually feeling good. And I've said it a number of times here. And then I saw the pictures after, and that's what inspired me to get on this GLP-1 journey, because I couldn't believe where I'd got to. And I was so blind to it. I couldn't see myself in that dress on the day. And looking back now, even now, I posted that on my 50-pound weight loss, that picture, that was the one. And even now, I can't believe that that was me. And I was walking around, with this massive belly. I knew I had it, but somehow in my mind, I'd convinced myself I didn't look like that. But anyway, I did. So the other thing I think it's important to say is that for many people, weight, self-esteem, validation, self-worth, how you do in work, it's more than just your clothes. It's more than just your scales. So I watched Oprah for years. Excuse me. I watched Oprah for years, and as we all know, Oprah's been up and down. She's on a GLP-1 now, and she's been up and down, but it never impacted on her belief in herself that she was deserving of a career, and that she was, she could be a successful entertainer. I didn't have that. Because I was overweight, in my head, I would never get promoted. I wouldn't go for some jobs because I'm like, well, why would they want to hire me? And I realized that not everyone's going to have those thoughts, that, some people are able to separate it out, and they do recognize that they're a valuable employee, and they, provide a good service and things like that. But there was certainly, for me, that there were jobs that I was like, oh, they probably, I might get through to the interview process, but then when they see me, they'll be like, oh my God, we can't hire her. So, I mean, it cuts really deep for me. There's so much history, there's so much negativity, there's so much tied up in my weight over all of those years, that right now, when I have those giddy moments, it's because I have separated the negativity, the history I carry in that weight, and self-worth and self-loathing, and all the times I've beaten myself up and called myself names, etc. I've separated that, and I'm feeling, like that normal person, like I'm feeling deserving. I'm feeling like I'm worth it. I'm feeling like I've achieved something. So I think that's why it was important for me to document that, both for me and for you, because I think you guys need to see that as well. Because when you're on this journey, it can be really lonely. And I think that's the reason why I'm enjoying this sort of vlogging and, putting out posts and things like that, is because you support me in the comments, and I try and support you back in the comments. But I feel heard. And I think sometimes you can feel heard when I can relate back to you how I feel about certain things, and it can be a lonely place when people don't understand, and I've used my sister as an example a couple of times, and my sister's a lovely, lovely, kind person, but she doesn't get the weight loss struggle, and I think somewhere deep down she does think, just eat less and move more. Maybe not quite so deep. Maybe it's quite near the top. But sometimes then when she's listening to me, she'll go, oh, I see. Oh, I didn't realize it was like that. So she has some moments of realization. But if you haven't been through it, or you are just one of those, well, eat less and move more people, you don't get it. You don't get it. And this is why, so many people that comment on, um, people who are documenting their GLP-1 journeys. The comments are very similar, and it's just having somebody that you can relate to. And I'm a huge advocate of promoting other people, because maybe my voice doesn't work for you, maybe my history, my experience is different than yours, and you can't relate. That's why I'm like, go and watch so and so, go and watch so and so. Guys, there's a bunch of guys out there documenting, because they do their GLP-1 journey very differently. They have a different approach. So I'm all about pushing people out. Go find the one that is going to resonate with you the most, because that's really, really important. A couple of other things I wanted to say, and I am going to refer to my notes. I do apologise, but I've asked permission, and if I don't get it, I'm going to take this bit out. So pause for effect. Emily Mason, you commented that you were having a big try on yourself. You've lost a lot of weight, and you were having a big try on because you're going to America, like I am, and you were looking through your clothes, and I think you said something like you were so disappointed because there were so many things there that you'd just like picked up in Tesco. And for anyone watching in the US, that's like it's like a superstore, grocery store that has like clothing, so kind of like a Walmart type thing. Not Walmart, but you get the idea. And you go in there and you look at clothes, and you said that you had a couple of clothes where you just said, that'll do. Ugh, my God, that hit me in the stomach, because I would say that back in the day, 99% of my wardrobe was that'll do. And that reading that really, like, it was like a sucker punch to the stomach, because, and I commented back to Emily that not only would I go, that'll do, and that'll do means it doesn't make me look too terrible, it doesn't make me look too great, it'll do, basically. And I used to just like, yeah, I don't feel shameful in this. It's not so bad that I wouldn't wear it out in public, but I don't feel particularly nice in it. It's just, it is what it is. It's covering my body. It's not too clingy or, showing off my lumps and my bumps and things like that. And I commented back to Emily, if they had that top in two colours that I could wear, I would buy both colours, because that was a no-brainer. Just have two of a very similar top, or the same top in different colours, because then that kind of like shakes it up a little bit. The other thing I will say is, so thank you for that comment, Emily. Thank you for that comment. It really did resonate with me and made me reflect back that that's what my wardrobe used to look like. It was full of clothes like that. But my clothes, my wardrobe was also full of black. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of black. And yeah, just to hide that, just to cover up. And also black goes with everything, you know. That's what I used to say, but actually it wasn't that. It was just I didn't wear many bright colours, or because sometimes bright colours were like clingier, or they showed off your bumps easier, or so it's easy to hide in black. It's easy to hide in black. Whereas if you're wearing something bright, and God forbid somebody might compliment you on your top. I'm the worst person for receiving a compliment, and I really do have to, even now, through gritted teeth, say thank you. And I know that people genuinely mean it, but it's really hard for me to receive. And sometimes when people say in the comment, "You've inspired me," oh my God, I die of shame. I don't know why. Yeah, it's really hard for me to take a compliment. I'll take compliments about my hair because I'm like, oh yeah, I can deal with that. And I think that's why, like, I did the curly girl method, and I kind of went for that, because that was a compliment I was willing to take. I've also got loads of really nice shoes, um, which are fat girls like savior, or some people do earrings, some people do glasses, and it's like you can take compliments about those things. You can accept that compliment, and it gives you a little bit of a boost. But yeah, I've got loads of cool shoes, or I used to have loads of cool shoes. I don't so much these days, but because that was something that I was like, oh yeah, they like my shoes, or like if someone says something about my hair, I'm like, oh, thanks very much. But yeah, if somebody says something about my clothes or a top, or you look nice in that, oh my goodness me, they might as well punch me in the face than say you look nice in that. My friend said if you don't take compliments, people will stop paying them to you. And I used to say, good, because they make me so uncomfortable. I'd rather somebody insulted me than give me a compliment. There might be something more to that. That might just be me. Um, but yeah, compliments. Because I think a lot of the time, there was a fearful part of me that thought that their compliment of what I was wearing was them mocking me. So the story I was telling myself, and that's a really good line to use if you know anything about psychology, the story I'm telling myself, because very often it is just a story and it's not, there's no basis in reality. It's a story we're telling ourselves. So the story I'd be telling myself is they're mocking me. They think I look terrible. And so they're mocking me by saying, oh, you look really nice in that, because they're getting some kind of a kick out of it. I know that's quite deep. That shows you how traumatic my weight has been for me over the years. Um, but yeah, I would think that people would go out of their way to create this compliment so that they would get a sense of ha 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 ha. I don't really mean that. So I hope that doesn't make me look too balmy. Balmy is crazy, too crazy. But I thought it was important that so when I do these midweek musings, and sometimes I'll kind of go over some of the things I'm thinking. I am exposing myself quite a lot, but I also want to do it to normalize it for people that are stuck with their own thoughts. They're stuck in their own thought loops, and we need to sometimes break free from those thought loops, because very often they're not true, and they've become so ingrained in our thought patterns that we can't see the wood for the trees, really. So that's why I do these midweek musings, because I like to challenge those thoughts in myself. I need to, like when when I find myself eating, and I did this just the other day. I had a packet of like dill chips. They're Polish or Lithuanian or something like that. I love dill. In America, I love Lay's dill pickle chips. Oh my God, my favorite chips in the world ever. In the UK, I like cheese and onion, Walker's cheese and onion. Anyway, I found these dill chips and I was eating them, and they were so good, and I was just eating them. And then I found myself just eating them. And then I found myself with like a bunch, like a three or four. And I did this kind of like not jam it into my mouth, but like, put a big thing. That's not enjoying the chips. That's a reversion back to my old behaviors. Like that's if you're shoveling food in your mouth, or crisps, or two chocolates, or three candies, or whatever, that's not you enjoying your food. You've slipped there. You're using food for something other than enjoyment, pleasure, hunger, things like that. That's not normal, just to like take a big bunch of crisps. But that's what I did. But I caught myself in the moment. And that's why I like to talk about that on these midweek musings, because I think when you catch yourself in that, you have to take just a moment to analyze it and go, why was I doing that? Am I bored? Am I sad? Am I lonely? Am I looking for comfort? Is there something else? Have I not eaten enough today? Is it my hunger catching up with me? So I do that quite often. If I find myself in those moments, sometimes you're a bit too deep into it before you kind of come to and go, oh, what was that about? But yeah, if you can catch yourself in the moment, then do. But yeah, so those moments still happen for me. I'm not cured. I'm under no illusion that I'm cured, that I'm fixed forever now. And I want to go forward in this journey with these realizations, because I eventually there is going to come a point where I want to maybe titrate down. So when I've reached maintenance, and I've had maintenance for a period of time, I will want to titrate down to the lowest functional dose, should we say, like the lowest dose that gives me the suppression I need to be able to control my cravings and my food noise and my hunger to a reasonable level. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm going to say I'm probably going to be on Mounjaro for at least another year at what do they call it? Treatment dose, at a treatment dose level. But yeah, I want to learn from this as much as possible. And I think everyone should be kind of adopting the attitude that it is a miracle drug, but it's not a miracle drug. We still need to do some of the heavy lifting. So yeah, I'm going to look at my notes now. Hold on one second. Um, Another thing I said yesterday was that I was loving myself a little bit, and I actually meant that when I said it. But again, with the compliments thing, I've never really loved myself before. And so it's a new and novel experience for me. And I'm leaning into it, and I'm taking those moments to celebrate that newfound, love, enjoyment of myself, recognition of how well I'm doing. And again, I'm putting a lot of it down to it's my altered state of mind at the moment, how much progress I've made, and how supported and empowered I feel by all of you when you share your comments with me, you know. So thank you for that. Um, and then another thing I was saying was that I think when we've got all of these big baggy clothes, some of them not in the best of condition, and we've held on to them because they fit. They didn't make us look terrible. Um, they're familiar, they're comfortable, they're safety. I think once you get out of those clothes, I think it is good to release them, because, and here's where I'm going to go a bit woo woo. I think for some of us, there's negative energy in those clothes. Not actual real negative energy, but like there are negative associations. There's a negative impact on those clothes, and we don't need to hang on to them. That's why I got rid of the pink dress, because I've got the. Who said to me, "Oh, well, you've got the photo to remember." I have got the photo to remember, but I've also got the photo of me in it £50 less. So I don't need to keep hold of that dress, and that dress would be not holding me back, but there is so much wrapped up in that dress, you know, and it's gone. And someone out there now is going to wear that to a wedding or an event, and they're going to feel fabulous in it, hopefully, and look fabulous in it. So yeah, so it is a bit woo woo, but do you get where I'm coming from with that comment? That like we have a lot of it, and I've also got positive energy in some of those clothes, you know. So some of the clothes I'm trying on, like that cream jacket that everyone seems to love, and I am holding on to it. My daughter hasn't got a chance of getting hold of that jacket. That cream jacket, I when I put that on, even though I can't get it done up, I felt different in that jacket. I felt like, yeah, I like this jacket and I like how I look in this jacket. So that's a positive feeling that's associated with that jacket. So if that makes sense of like there's negative energy stored in clothes. So yeah, I do think it's worth reviewing what you've gone. And like I said, I'm holding on to those Marks and Spencer's trousers and that big top, that big voluminous top on me, because those are what I'm holding on to. And I said I think I've got two or three only items of clothing left that I'm not in. And one of them is the £137 trousers, let's say. So I don't think I'm ever going to get into those because I don't know how achievable 137 is for me at 55 years old. Um, but yeah, but it'd be close to, it'd be nice to see if I get close. So if I could get them on and up over my thighs, even if I couldn't get the button done on the side because they're side fixing, I'd be happy with that. I'd be like, oh, I'm in them. I'm in. That's as good as it. That's as good as I need to get. So yeah, but the only other thing I've written down here, and maybe I should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, is I had two beautiful dogs for many, many years. They lived until they were 14 and nearly 16, or nearly 14 and nearly 16. And apart from my daughter, they were the loves of my life. I loved those dogs. And I walked them twice a day, rain, hail, sun, heat wave, whatever. We went out twice a day up onto the moors, into the woods and everything. And, they ran free. But I was always in dog walking clothes. So I'd come home from work and I'd go straight upstairs. I'd put on my dog walking clothes and I'd go out. And sometimes on a Saturday or a Sunday, I'd do jobs around the house or in the garden and I would wear those clothes. And I felt safe in those clothes because they were dog walking clothes. They were kind of like transitioned down, from like old work trousers or just things that weren't their best anymore, because you're getting like rained on and it's very dirty and, other dogs would jump up on you. So I used to wear those and with a pair of hiking boots and, so it was obvious that they were kind of like my outdoorsy kind of like go out and ramble clothes. I'm rambling now. But I felt comfortable in those clothes because those clothes, people knew what those clothes were. She's a dog walker. She's out with her dogs. That's why she's wearing those clothes. I mean, it was really muddy where I used to walk my dogs, like, frequently walking through like 2-inch thick mud and they'd splatter and horses would go by and stuff. Anyway, so people knew why I was wearing those clothes and I felt safe in those clothes because I didn't, so I knew people could see I wasn't trying to make an impression. I wasn't trying to show off or I wasn't trying to look good. I was just in practical clothes while I was out and about. And I had this fear that people would, why I felt comfortable in those clothes was because I felt people, if I was dressed in really nice clothes or I was trying to look a certain way, that I would fall short of what they thought looked good. So it was easier to not try to look nice than to try and look nice and miss the mark or fail or have people think, crikey, she thinks she looks nice in that, like that pink dress. I think that's what hit me hard about the pink dress is I thought I looked good. And then when I saw the pictures, I thought, crikey, people must have been looking at me thinking, what is she wearing that dress for? She looks terrible. So to me, that's a mistake. That dress was a mistake. It wasn't the dress, it was me. So if that makes sense, it was always easy for me to wear clothes that had an obvious purpose. So like painting clothes, gardening clothes, dog walking clothes, because it didn't look like I was trying too hard. But then if I had clothes that were supposed to look nice, all the time I was worried that people, again, these people, the story I'm telling myself, these people mocking me probably weren't mocking me. They probably didn't even notice me, you know? This is the thing. Um, so I'm examining all of these stories and trying to release them. And maybe by talking to you about them, I'm releasing them even more. Maybe you just think I'm absolutely bonkers. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind exposing myself. Like I said, I worked in the mental health industry. I'm not clinically trained, but I worked with clinicians for over 12 years. So I've got a good wealth of knowledge, and that's where I've picked up some of the phrases I use, like the story I'm telling myself and things like that. Um, but I think it's good that I keep challenging. And then if some of it resonates with you, that's great. If some of it doesn't resonate with you, that's great. Find somebody who it does resonate with. But for anyone that can relate, I just wanted to share that you're not alone. These crazy thoughts that we have, these stories that we make up and we live and die by, you know, we've got to let them go. Got to let them go with the clothes, the fat, the worries about what other people think of us. Let it all go. Let it all go. Let it all wash away with the weight, And it's not just about the number on the scale, is it? It's about all of these things that make us up as a person. And as somebody who's 55, I feel like I'm only just coming into myself. And I hope I've got a couple of years left to be able to enjoy that experience and know what it's like to feel good. So yeah. Anyway, I am going to wrap it up now. This has been, I think, my longest midweek musing. So I'm at 32 minutes already. So if you've made it this far, well done. Yeah, I don't know what else to say to wrap this up, but I'll know in the comments if you've liked this or not. If you do like it, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. Again, that's linked in to self-esteem. I didn't say that for the first, I don't know how many weeks, because I was frightened everyone would judge me for saying it. But anyway, I don't mind saying it now because I've realised that you can do whatever you want, you know. So I can't control you, but I do appreciate the comments. I do appreciate the thumbs up, and I do appreciate everyone who has subscribed recently. I've had a little bit of a flurry recently, so thank you to all the newcomers. I hope I haven't put you off with this, and I'm not making light of it. I am laughing because I recognise some of my crazy things, and hopefully you'll recognise some of your crazy things. But sometimes we just don't talk about these things, and we think that we're the only ones having these mad, crazy thoughts when actually other people are having them. They're just not talking about it. So, anyway, my name is Ginger, and this is my channel, Ginger Goes GLP1. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will be back on Saturday for my week 26, so 6-month weigh in. And yeah, I'm going to review my last 6 months, and hopefully it'll be a bit shorter than this, but who knows. Anyway, take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye bye now.